Good morning and welcome back here to our Food for Thought segment, sports betting picks and analysis. This morning we're going to do a breakdown of the college basketball games and we're going to do a breakdown of the NHL games. We're going to go ahead and do one of the NHL games because it starts early at about 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 10 p.m. Pacific, and we'll break down all the college basketball games. After that, our next video will be the NBA, and then we're going to be doing the NFL games as well too. We'll break down those games. All right, so first off, we're going to start with the college basketball because a few of these games start at 12 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, 9 p.m. Pacific, so we'll get to the early games right away. First early game we're going to look at is Nebraska at Maryland. This is at College Park, Maryland. The total opened up at 146.5, minus 9 Maryland. Right now, we're looking at total 148.5, and we're looking at 9.5. The majority is 9.5. Some 9s are still there, but 9.5, that's the majority. If you're wondering where we're getting the picks, where we're getting the lines from, and where we're getting the odds from, it's at oddslogic.com. This is where we get all the updated line movements, the updated injury report, the updated totals, over-unders. It's the whole 9 yards. We do it for all sports. Every sports, we do it for all the sports, the sporting games, everything. So that's not from, that's where we're getting it from. All right, so I guess we're going to start off with that game. Once again, Nebraska at Maryland. Nebraska at Maryland, excuse me. So we'll look at the history of these two teams. We'll look at the current format for these two teams here. Last 10 games we're looking at here. Maryland, Illinois. So we'll start off with Nebraska. Last 10, 6-4. 6-4 against the spread. 4-6 to the under. Maryland, on the other hand, 6-4 last 10, 5-5 against the spread, 6-4 to the over. So Nebraska, they have lost 3 straight games, but in that 3-game losing streak, they have gone over the total 3 times. And 2 of the 3 times that they've gone over was at Purdue and at Iowa. So clearly, in Purdue they gave up 104 points. Iowa they gave up 97 points, almost 100 points on the road. So on the road, they have a lot of issues that Maryland can exploit. Maryland, on the other hand, they've gone over four straight times. 4 straight times, twice in Oregon and in Northwestern on the road, and twice they went over at home against Minnesota and UCLA. So I say this to say, with Maryland going over 4 times in a row, and Nebraska going over 3 times on the road, or 2 times on the road, once at home, this tells me that everything is correlating to the over 148. Even at 148.5, I'll still take the over. I'd personally bet this one at 147.5. Like I said, I wouldn't talk you off of it. If it's at 148.5, I'd still bet the over. As far as the side, regarding the side, yeah, because Nebraska hasn't been all that great. They haven't been covering spreads. As a dog favorite on the road, they've looked pretty bad. I would basically I would lean to Maryland. I know Maryland hasn't covered the last 2 games. They've struggled a bit in the last 2 covering. But I would lean to Maryland and the points. That's my take on that. Now, let me look at the first half to see. I'm personally not going to play the first half, but for you guys out there that likes first halves, I'm gonna look into this further to see if there's any value on that. I'm personally playing the over, like I said, over 147.5. Like I said, I take it to 148.5. That's my play. Yeah, nothing on the first half, nothing on the side. I would lean, like I said, Maryland 9.5. That's my lean. Not an official play there. Okay, so we're finished with that game. The next game we're going to look at, this is probably the marquee game of the day. Illinois at Michigan State against Tom Izzo at Michigan State. So this one here, minus 3.5, Michigan State favored. Total 156. Right now we're seeing the number at 3. We're seeing threes across the board. Mainly is threes. Threes coming up here. 3 and the total being at 157. And we're seeing some 157s and a half, but mainly 157 for now. So we'll do the breakdown of this game as well. Do a quick breakdown of this game here. So last 10 games for Illinois. 7-3, 4-5-1 against the spread, 7-3 to the over. And the last 5 games, Illinois 4-1 the last 5 games. Last 5, 4-1 to the over. Michigan State's 10-0 last 10 games. They've won 10 straight games. 8-2 against the spread. 5-5 over under. So Michigan State's won. They've gone over their last 2 games. They were at a stretch where they had played to basically 4 straight unders, but the last 2 games their offense is picking up tremendously, and they continue to win games. 10 straight. Now in this game here, in terms of the total, again I like the over in this game. I like the over a lot. Illinois 7-3 last 10 games over. Most notably, their last 4 road games. Illinois' last 4 road games, 4-0 to the over, 3-0 to the over in the month of January. So again, they're playing to the over. I think that continues today. I know Michigan's won 10 straight games, but with Illinois' offense, the way it's going, and they've played in some big venues, they've won big on the road, I can see them exploiting Michigan State a little bit here. They can crack some holes in Michigan's defense to the point where this game can go over the total. That's in my opinion. Like I said, they played in tough venues. They've gone over, so they're pretty much ready for the moment on the road in Michigan against Michigan State. So that's why I like the over here. Michigan State as well. Their offense is coming around. Last 2 games they picked it up against Northwestern and Penn State. They've gone over the last 2 games. And this is the highest total for Michigan State this year, 156.5, and it's going in that direction. And I agree with the market. I agree with the market move going up to 156.5, 157. I agree with that based on what I mentioned earlier. So I like the over in this game. 156.5. If you get it at 157, take it at 157. I like the over. I personally like that. Regarding the side, I'm going to lean Michigan here. Michigan State to win this game. I mean, it's tough to go in front of a hot team like Michigan State that's won 10 straight games. I don't want to go in front of that. So until you lose a game, I'm still going to take Michigan. I would lean Michigan State on the money line. It's a money line play for me. If I was to play it, I like the over more than Michigan State money line. But if I had to give a pick on the game, it'd be Michigan. I would lean Michigan State on the money line. It's a lean for that game. The next game we're going to look at, Tulane at Temple Owls. The line opened up at 4.5. Temple totals at 150. So right now we're looking at 150.5, and the total we're looking, and the spread here is 3.5. A lot of 3.5s on the board that are coming up. So in this game here, we look at the current form of these teams. Six and 4 Tulane their last 10 games, 5 and 4 against the spread, 5 and 2 to the under. Temple last 10 games, 7 and 3, 6 and 3 against the spread, 7 and 2 to the over. Temple, they're basically an over machine. They have gone over in 6 straight games. Temple's gone over 6 straight games, and 3 of the 6 games they've gone over have been 3 on the road they've gone over, 3 at home they've gone over. Now as far as Tulane, and Temple's won 2 straight games, and their last 5, 4 and 1 their last 5. As far as Tulane, last 5, 4 and 1 their last 5 as well. Tulane's gone under 3 straight games. But it's mainly the games they've gone under have been at home. Mainly at home. If I had to choose a side here, I would lean to Tulane. Temple's, because I'm playing it based off situations. So Temple in the situation, they were a 1.5 point favorite at home against Wichita earlier this month, and they covered. They covered 2 games, and they had a Buffalo non-conference game against Buffalo, covered as a 14.5 point favorite. That was December 29th, towards the end of the year. I just feel I'm playing Tulane because I just feel, in my opinion, Temple, for the most part, so far they've been underdogs. So to be in the favorites role, I know they've won 2 games as a favorite so far, but still, in my opinion, I just feel it's a position that Temple, to me, they're not really ready to handle as a favorite. I look at them more as a dog, as an underdog. So that's why, in a situational spot here, from a spots perspective, I like Tulane and the plus 3.5. I like him at 3.5. So I'll be on this game as well. And that's a 1 o'clock start. Tulane at Temple. The Nebraska, Maryland, 12 p.m. start, 9 p.m. Pacific. Illinois, Michigan State, 12 p.m. start, 9 p.m. Pacific. And the Tulane game is at 10 p.m. Pacific time start. So I like Tulane here to cover. Just unfamiliar territory, like I said, for Temple to be favored as a favorite. I look at them more as an underdog. So I like Tulane for that reason. Next game is Rice at Florida Atlantic International. Opened up at -9. Total 148. Right now we're looking at -10. -10 we're looking at, and we're looking at 148.5. That's what we're looking at right now. There are some 10s and a halves on the board, but it's mainly 10. -10 on the board here we're looking at. All right, so we'll look at this game more in depth. Rice, last 10 games, 5 and 5. Against the spread, 3 and 6. 6 and 3 to the over. Florida Atlantic, 5 and 5. 4 and 6 against the spread, 4 and 6 to the under. So Rice, they have lost 3 straight games. Again, the 3-game losing streak. The offense has been horrible. Their defense has been horrible. They've given up, on average, 85 to 90 points. And that's why they've gone over the total. Opposition scoring a whole bunch of points against them. They've gone over 3 straight times on the 3-game losing streak. Florida Atlantic, 2 straight losses. They've gone under the total twice. And the 2-game losing streak, they've gone under 3 straight times. Head-to-head, though, the recent matchup in Rice, Florida Atlantic was a 12-point favorite. Florida Atlantic won the game, and it stayed under the total, 69-56, under 152. It doesn't really mean much. That's why I don't really look at past history, because past history doesn't really mean much, because every year, different players, different coaches, schemes, schematics, so I don't really follow it. I don't really look at the past history from a year, it's 3-4 years ago. In this particular matchup here, it's more than likely going to be a pass. I got no play on this game whatsoever. I mean, if I had to play it, because Rice, they get, I would. I would lean to Florida Atlantic. I would lean to Florida. I would lean to Florida Atlantic here. That's just a lean. And the minus 10. I take Florida Atlantic. Minus 10. So if you like for Florida Atlantic, I would take him at minus 10 before it gets to 10.5 or 9.5. There's mainly 10s right now, so I would still take Florida Atlantic. Again, Rice, they have, and that's another thing with Rice too on the road. They haven't really been. They had UT at North Texas, and they didn't cover against North Texas. They were minus 11 on the road. They didn't cover there as an underdog. So with Florida Atlantic at minus 10, they can't cover in North Texas as an underdog of plus 11. I can't see how they're covering against Florida Atlantic at minus 10 at plus 10. I don't see them covering that. Now I understand Florida Atlantic, they haven't really been a double-digit favorite this year, but I would lean that way. That's my lean. So like I said, if you like Florida Atlantic, take him at minus 10 now before it gets to 10.5. So I would personally play it up to minus 10. After that, I wouldn't touch the game anymore. I don't know if I'll get to the window for that game, but that's my advice for that game. That's what I would advise you to do if you were to play that. I would go that route. The next game we're going to look at, Youngstown State at Green Bay. So Youngstown State at Green Bay opened up minus 7.5. Youngstown. The total is 147. So the total has dropped all the way down to 142.5. So it's a big drop off. It dropped off by about 5.5 points. It's a big drop. As far as the spread, it hasn't really moved. It's still 7.5, which is quite alarming for a 1 p.m. start. It really hasn't moved. So I'm going to look into this one further. Youngstown State 7-3 last 10, 6-4 against the spread, 8-2 to the over. Green Bay last 10, 0-10. They've lost 10 straight games, 2-7 against the spread, 2-7 to the under. So this game they've lost 10 straight. Tough to back a team that's lost 10 straight games, but that's the reality for Green Bay. Half of their losses were basically on the road. Although they covered some big numbers. They covered at Drake, they're 23.5 point dogs. They covered at Milwaukee, Wisconsin as a 15.5 point underdog. So they have covered. Now they're 7.5 points underdogs here. At home, they're a home dog. Now again, this can be a look-ahead spot for. Actually, let me look at this one moment. Sorry. I looked at the wrong thing. Sorry about that. The thing is, the line hasn't really moved a bunch. It's still 7.5. That's the thing that's puzzling to me, for a team against a team that's lost 10 straight games. So that's pretty puzzling to me why that line really hasn't moved. It's been 7.5, 7.5. But it hasn't really done anything. It's gone down to 7 in one book, but it's just 7.5. That's not a good thing when it's like that. So, with that being said, in this kind of spot and situation, I would lean to Green Bay plus 7.5. Youngstown might overlook this team. This is a team that Youngstown might overlook. Youngstown's lost. I know they've lost 2 straight games. I understand that, but at the same time, I think they might overlook this team a little bit, in my opinion. And Green Bay they're a desperate team. That's another thing. They're a desperate team, so they're going to be scratching and clawing to get a win. And with the line not moving, it's staying at 7.5. Hasn't really done anything. Just sitting there, no real movement. And this game is at 1 p.m. today. Let me get the time here. Yeah, it's a 1 p.m. start. 1 o'clock start. And it hasn't really moved. It's just sitting there. Yeah, I'm leaning Green Bay just because of that. I'll take Green Bay here and the 7.5. I'm gonna take them. That's my lean. I would lean that way. Not sure if I'm gonna get to the window there. Now regarding the total, it's dropped heavy. It's a heavy drop off, the total. Regarding the total, both teams are trending to the under. Like you mentioned before, Youngstown State 4-5-1 to the under. Green Bay 2-7 to the under. So for sure, I would definitely lean to the under. I like the under in this. I would lean to the under more than the side, to be honest with you. I lean to the under here. Now we're seeing 6.5, so they dropped down to 6.5 now. This game's gone from 7.5 to 6.5, so it has come down a bit. But all of a sudden it's starting to move. I guess they heard me speak and say the line's not moving. Now it's moving. After I mentioned it, so now it's starting to move all of a sudden. So I would lean to the under. I take the under 143. Under 143 because it's dropped off quite a bit. I'll take the under. I would take that. Like I said, I'm not sure if I'll get there, but I would lean that way. Under 143. And that line, like I said, it's currently gone down to I'm seeing some 6.5s right now. So it's gone down from the 7. It's moving off the 7.5. Seeing 6.5, 7. So just letting you guys know. Not more than likely, I'm not going to get involved with that one. That's just a lean, how I feel about it. Next game, LaSalle at UMass. This game is going to be at 2 p.m. today. Opening line for this one, UMass 2.5 point favorites, total 156. Right now we're still at 2.5. That hasn't moved at all. But the total is 158. That has moved. And we're seeing 159s a little bit. 159.5. But the consensus is 158. So if you like the over in this one, try and get the 158. Try and get the 158 before it gets to 159, because some books are trying to go to 159. So we're seeing, yeah, so try and do that. So LaSalle and UMass, we're going to look into this one a bit deeper. Last 10 meetings, LaSalle, last 10 games, 5-5, 4-5 against the spread, 5-4 to the over. UMass last 10, 4-6, last 10, 5-4 against the spread, 7-2 to the over. So clearly, with the total moving the way it's moving, I definitely like the over here. I like the over in this game a lot, just because how the total's moving. And UMass they've basically gone over 3 straight games now. 3 games in a row, they've gone over the total. That's 2 on the road. As for LaSalle, they've gone over the total 2 times in a row. And they've won 2 straight games. They've covered 2 straight games, LaSalle. Covered at home against Bonaventure plus 12, covered against Davidson at home. And they've been basically covering, LaSalle's been covering, they covered at Dayton too, so they've been covering on the road 2 straight games. They've been covering games. UMass, again, another team, you're asking them to lay points at home. They're in unfamiliar territory. Remember, they had St. Joe's. Sorry, they played Richmond earlier this year at home. They're 5-point favorites. The total's under 147. They lost outright, 72-64. So this is the second time we're asking UMass to cover the 2.5. I like the over here, and I like LaSalle. I like LaSalle here to cover the 2. I think LaSalle can cover this game. Wouldn't be surprised if they won the game. It wouldn't really surprise me. But I like LaSalle here to cover the points. Yeah, I do like him here. I like him in this spot. Yeah, I like LaSalle and the 2.5, and I said I like the over. I like the over in this matchup as well. I wouldn't do a same game parlay with it. I'm not a big same game parlay player. Me personally, I would split the do a separate bets for each one, straight bets. That's just my opinion. I wouldn't same game parlay it. Or what you can do if you're into the parlays, you can take one of those bets, parlay with an NBA game or football game or something else. That's what I would do. I wouldn't do it the same game. I wouldn't do that. I personally wouldn't do that. But that's my take on this one. Over in the UMass game, UMass LaSalle, over 158.5, 158. Still bet the over, and I like LaSalle plus 2.5. Like I said earlier, this game's a 2 o'clock start, so try and get, if you can get the 158.5, try and get it, because it is heading into the 159 direction. It's going to 159 right now, so try and get that if you can. Next game here. Cleveland State at IUPUI. This matchup here. We're going to look at the number here. -6, Cleveland State opened up at -6, total 141. Right now we're looking at 5.5. So we're looking mainly at 5.5. Actually, sorry, we're looking at 6. The consensus is 6. 6, total 139. Now we do see still some 5.5s out there, but 6s are still there, but still you're seeing some 5.5s on the board too at the same time. So let's look into this game a bit more. Cleveland State last 10 games, 9-1, 6-2 against the spread, 5-3 to the over. Cleveland State has won 9 games in a row. IUPUI last 10, 2-8, 7-3 against the spread, 5-5 over under. So look into this one further. Let's see this one here. Cleveland State 5.5. No, I actually have no play on this game at all. This one is a pass. If I had to play the game, obviously I would take Cleveland State to cover the 5.5. But I have no play on this game at all. This game is a complete pass. Total wise, side wise, I have nothing here on this game. Nothing here. This is a complete wash. Next game, Northwestern at Michigan. This is the next game here. This game is a 2 o'clock start this afternoon. You open up -10, Michigan, against Northwestern. Game's in Michigan. Total 147.5. Right now we're seeing 146.5. And it's gone down to 9.5. That's Northwestern at Michigan. This afternoon, number 20, Michigan. This one here, Northwestern 6-4. Last 10, 8-2 against the spread, 7-3 to the over. Northwestern ended a 3-game losing streak, beat Maryland at home. And they have gone over 6 straight games. They've gone over the total. Michigan, 7-3 last 10, 6-4 against the spread, 8-2 to the over. Michigan had won 5 straight. They lost at Minnesota. Surprising loss because I'd watched that game. And they had control that game early on in the first half, but then they let it get away. So it's a bad loss for them. Now they're at home, where they've dominated play. They've dominated at home. Let's see. Yeah, they dominated at home. Usually they dominate. And I believe Michigan, they had a bit of a lapse at Minnesota. But I like Michigan here. I like Michigan to cover the it went down to 9. Let's look at this number again. It did go down to it was 10 and it was open up at 10. It's gone down to 9.5. I still like Michigan. I like Michigan to cover the points here. I like them here. They're at home too. They're at home as well. And if you look at Northwestern, this is basically a different situation from Northwestern. They didn't cover against Purdue. Purdue flexed their muscles against them. They covered Penn State, but Purdue's, to me, is more of a superior team than Penn State. And in saying all that, and they didn't cover against Michigan State. They lost to Michigan State. They didn't cover there at all. So you're losing against 2 powerhouse teams, Michigan State and Michigan. Those are 2 ranked teams. You lose to Michigan State at home, and you lose to Purdue on the road. So against those 2 powerhouse teams that you lose to, and then Michigan coming off a bad loss at Minnesota, where I felt they had control of the game, they just had some mental lapses. This is a spot for me that where Michigan State covers. They covered this 9.5 in convincing fashion at home. Their last big win was against Washington. They were -14.5. So they're used to covering these big spreads. They covered Western Kentucky. They've covered on the road at USC. Covered as a dog against UCLA. To me, another thing too, I find Michigan's more battle-tested on the road than Northwestern, in my opinion. They're more battle-tested on the road. Oklahoma lost at Oklahoma as a 4-point favorite. Lost at Arkansas, but they're more, to me, that's something. They're more battle-tested. And Michigan's coming off a loss at Minnesota. Now they're at home against Northwestern off a loss. And now the line opened up at -10 and went down to -9. I got to take Michigan. I'm taking Michigan at 9.5. I like Michigan a lot. I like Michigan -9.5. And I like the over. I like the over as well. Over, let's see where it's at. 146.5. I like the over in this game as well. I know it dropped down by a point. I'm still taking the over. Over in Michigan. I like that a lot. So I'll definitely be on that. I think they bounce back here nicely in this game. Next game is Memphis at Charlotte. Memphis at Charlotte. This is a 3 p.m. start. Line is 11 and let's see. Let's get the opening line here. 11.5. Memphis favored. In Charlotte, total 147. Right now it's at 148. The line hasn't really moved much. Still at 11.5. It's down to 11, so it hasn't moved too much. As far as this game goes, Memphis 7-3 last 10, 3-7 against the spread, 5-5 to the over/under. It's even. Charlotte 3-7 last 10, 4-6 against the spread, 5-5 last 10. Memphis did win 4 straight games. That ended a 4-game win streak. Lost at Temple as a 7-point favorite. Now they're in Charlotte, 11.5-point favorite. Charlotte, they have lost 6 straight games. Now, they lost 6 straight games. They covered the last game at Wichita. They covered the 10.5-point dogs covered there. They have gone under 4 straight times. So they're clearly struggling offensively. Have offensive struggles. Mainly those games that they struggled offensively, 3 of those games were on the road. The other, I see 4 straight games under. 4 unders in a row. 3 of the 4 unders on the road were at Wichita, Tulsa, and Rice. So it's difficult to score in those venues. So I understand why they struggled offensively there. FAU, they were under the total in FAU, 154 at home against Florida Atlantic. What I like in this game. I like the this is a situational spot. This is a situational spot here. For me, I like Charlotte. I like Charlotte to cover the points. Again, this is a situation. This is a sandwich. This is a sandwich situational spot. A sandwich spot because they have to play Wichita at home on Wednesday. I believe that game's Wednesday night. At home against Wichita State. They lost to them a year ago, so that game's on their mind. So this is a look-ahead spot. Charlotte. So Charlotte's catching Memphis at the right time. Catching him at the right time. Charlotte. They're catching him at the right time. So I do like I like Charlotte here in this spot. Plus 11.5. Even at 11, I like Charlotte. Situational spot. And a sandwich spot. Perfect spot for Charlotte to keep cover the points. Remember, they covered the last game. Last game they covered on the road. They covered here against Wichita. So I believe this is another ideal spot where they cover here against Memphis. I like him here. More than likely, I'll be getting to the window for that game, plus the 11. I like that one a lot. I'll be betting that game. That's the game I'm going to bet on for sure. And like I said, I'm going to bet LaSalle plus 2.5. I mentioned that earlier, and the over in the LaSalle the UMass game. Michigan, I gave up Michigan minus 9.5. I like Michigan a lot, and the over in that game, over the total. Next game is Robert Morris at Milwaukee. Robert Morris at Milwaukee. Minus 6.5. Milwaukee, total 146. Right now this game is at 7.5. And total is 149. Majority is the consensus is 150. 150 basically. 150 and a half. That's the consensus total. So this matchup here, Robert Morris, last 10 games, 6-4, 7-3 against the spread, 8-2 to the over. Milwaukee, last 10 games, 8-2, 4-5 against the spread, 3-6 to the under. So Robert Morris, they have won 2 straight games. Last 5, 3 on the road, 3 of the last 5, actually last 6, 3 games on the road, 2 at home. They've gone, last 5, I said, yeah, last 5 games, 4-1 to the over last 5 games. And 3-0 to the over. 3-0 to the over on the road. That's Robert Morris. So clearly, on the road they've been playing well, and have been going over that number, over the total. Milwaukee here, 8-2, last 10, 4-5 against the spread, 3-6 to the under. They've won 2 straight games. They've gone under in 5 games. 5 games they've gone under. 3 of those games on the road, 2 at home. This one here, Milwaukee's favorite 7.5. I don't have a play on this game at all. No play on this game. This one's a complete pass. No play on this game at all. Nothing here. Sides, totals, nothing here at all for this game. Next game, Texas Christian at Baylor. This is the last game for college basketball. Baylor 13.5 point favorites. Open up at 12.5. Baylor, and the total is 136. Right now we're looking at 13 across the board. 13, and the total 137. We're looking at that. Mainly 137s. TCU Baylor. So look at this one further. Number 25 Baylor. Texas Christian, last 10 games, 5-5, 4-6 against the spread, 3-6-1 to the under. They've gone under in 4 straight games. One of the games they went under was on the road at Houston. As for Baylor, 7-3, 3-6 against the spread, 5-4 to the over. Now Baylor had gone over in 4 straight games until he went to Arizona, and they had gone under, in 4 straight games until he went to Arizona, and then of course Arizona exploited them offensively, and that's why I went over the total. Now you're playing TCU, more of a conference game. So I like the under in this game. I do like the under. Texas Christian, they have problems putting up scoring. Their defense is good, but the scoring is an issue. And I like Baylor here. I know they're 5-4 to the over. I understand that, but I just feel like this is a defensive matchup. I like it here. I like this game under, even though it's gone up to 137, I still feel, and still when you see 137.5, I still feel like this is more of an under game. I like under in this series. It's an under feel, especially with a big spread. When it's a big spread of this magnitude of 13.5. I like the under here. I lean more into the under. Side, no play on the side, but I like under. That's my play on this one. Under 137. Even if you get at 137.5, even better. I'd still bet the under. I like the under here. So that's it for college basketball. We broke down all the games. NHL, I'll give you one play for the NHL. In my next video, we're going to break down the rest of the NHL matchups along with the NBA, like I mentioned earlier. So we'll get to the hockey. And that's our first matchup. Ottawa, New Jersey. This is a 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time start. 10 p.m. on the West Coast. The total in this game, 5.5. New Jersey, Ottawa. New Jersey favored. Now in this matchup here, head-to-head 6-4. New Jersey's winning the series. Now they've already played in October. Last year, October 17th in Ottawa, it was 3-1. The total at that time was 6.5, and it went under. Right now, the team's current form: 5-3-2 Ottawa, last 10 games, 1-8-1 to the under. Ottawa played yesterday at home against Boston, 6-5 in a shootout. The total is over 5.5. And then New Jersey, they played yesterday as well. 5-2-1 last 10 games, 2-8 to the under. Played Philadelphia and was 3-1. They lost at home, and the total was 6. It was under 6 goals. In this game here, I'm gonna go with the over. It's going to be obviously different goaltenders for this game, different goalies in this particular matchup. So, again, the goaltender there for Ottawa is Anton Forsberg. He's allowing over 3 goals in 8 games in a row, and he hasn't played in 10 games. Anton Forsberg. So, obviously, both teams are using different goaltenders now because they both played yesterday. So they got their backup goalies, and he hasn't played in 10 games, Anton Forsberg. So it's a long layoff, so obviously he will be rusty with a long layoff. So with New Jersey style of play, for Anton Forsberg to struggle again, allowing 3 or more goals, this will allow Ottawa to open up their game offensively. They have to open up their game. We know they are limited in scoring, resulting from yesterday's 3-1 loss. He only scored 1 goal. But I think this is I think here with this, I think Jersey, they should pull their weight and put up enough goals. Remember, it's 5.5. If they put up 5 or 4 goals, and if Ottawa can get at least, I know they scored 1 goal yesterday, but if they can get another goal, 2 goals, I think this can get over the total. Especially with the backup goalie, Anton Forsberg, hasn't played in 10 games. So it makes sense that. And another thing I would do too, if you don't like over the total in the entire game, New Jersey Devils team total over 3.5 goals. I would take that route as well. That's another angle you can take if you don't trust Ottawa to put up goals. Team total New Jersey Devils over 3.5 goals. Those are 2 angles I would take. I would take both those angles. If you don't like one, take the other. That's what I would do for the hockey. All right, so those are my plays for the NHL college basketball. Thank you for tuning in and listening. My name is Abby. I'm going to be back this afternoon. I'm going to give you the whole lowdown for the NBA and the whole lowdown for the NFL. I got the NFL games that start 3 p.m. this afternoon, 12 p.m. Pacific, and we're going to do the rest of the NHL hockey games. All right. So until then, good luck with your plays today for the early games. Yeah, you either fade the plays or follow. It's up to you. I just choose and pick what I feel is best for each and every game. Again, good luck. Stay true to yourself. Stay blessed. Stay humble. Believe in yourself. Peace. See you this afternoon.